Yeah, why did they go to Germany to begin with?
Because they were taken there to work on the farm stuff during the war.
Czujesz, brate mi, towarzyszu mi, відлітають сірим шнурком журавлі у вирі.
They took him to work on the fields in Germany.
During the war.
That was during the war when the Germans went to Ukraine when they attacked Russia instead, right?
Yeah,
You know that from your history. When they went there and they attacked the Ukrainians,
yeah.
they took the people to work on their fields.
Okay.
They didn't volunteer.
Right,
They took them.
right.
They put them on the those buses and trucks, and they took them. Did you ever see like Schindler's List or any of those movies?
Yeah.
When I see these movies, that's where you see all that stuff. And actually, when my dad would sit here and he would watch some of those movies, he would say, "See, that's what they used to do, because that's exactly what they did." You know, because they would remember them telling him whenever they started throwing bombs and stuff. When they were in a building, they had to go, in the basements, and they had to shut all the windows, cover them so that they wouldn't see no lights. I remember that part, them talking about that. Aunt and my uncle, the one in New York, they did go to Europe to visit their relatives. And everything was changed. The town didn't exist there anymore.
Кличуть кру, 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 в чужині умру, заке море перелечу, крилонька
Yeah. It's like they just went, what they said, they just took, 2 bags with them, 2 suitcases. And you know that they kept that suitcase. When we came here, we had that suitcase. They
Still?
kept it. Yeah, they kept it. They kept it for forever, and then I guess somewhere along the line they finally got tired and they threw it out. Yeah, but they kept that suitcase. I remember them keeping it for a long, long
Well, they're
time.
away for a while.
Yes, because everything went in. It was a big suitcase about like this. It wasn't very very deep. It was just a regular size. They didn't make them.
Yeah.
It was like this, and they kept, and they had I think did they have a strap, or was it they had a belt? I think they had some kind of a belt that kept there, and there wasn't much clothing in there. Like now people go, I see them go on airplanes. That damn it, they carry 3-4 suitcases just to go for 1 week,
Right.
and they packed everything in that one suitcase, and that's how they
Their whole
that's how
life
they
in one
traveled.
suitcase, yeah.
That was it. Well,
Yeah.
like my parents, your parents, because they after they saw all that destruction, and all the killing and stuff, they didn't want to stay there. They would go anywhere. They would leave just to better themselves. At that time, they were the only place that they could go, because they were the only country that it was taking. How do you call it?
Immigrants.
Well, not immigrants. They were displaced people.
Yeah.
Just like some people came to the United States, they went to France, to other countries, England, Australia. Well, they wanted to come to the United States, but the quotas were filled, so they couldn't come here. So they went to Venezuela because that was the only place that had an opening. So they were able to go there.
And what city did they go to?
They went to Caracas.
So straight from Germany. Which city in Germany do you remember?
I know I was born in Traiso, but I don't know exactly where they left from.
And then they went straight to Caracas after.
Mhm.
Straight from there. And how many Ukrainians were in Venezuela?
I would say there was probably about 300 people approximately. You know, later on as the years went by. My dad was a welder, so whatever he could get a job welding, he worked. He worked as a welder.
And your mom, what did your mom do?
And my mom had a sewing machine and she sewed clothes. Used to bring bundles home and then she would sew them up and then take them to back to the company. And they would the clothing would come out all trimmed and cutouts, and she would put it together and they would pay her for that. My parents had to stand in line to get me to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
My mom stood in line during the day. My dad came home at night. He stood in line during the night and he would sleep out there
To sign you up for
just to
school.
sign you up for school.
Do you know how many days they had to wait?
I think there was a pretty long line. There might have been 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Probably 3 days, I would say.
Take turns.
Because they only, do so many people a day.
And this was like every year they had to do that?
No, that was the first year.
Just to get you
The
in
first
school.
year when they opened that school.
Okay.
Because they built that building. It was like a new school.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to stand in line.
And then once you were in
And
school.
you know how many people signed up? There were a lot of people that wanted to go to school, and some families had 2-3 kids, and they wouldn't take them. They always took the older
kids got in first.
kids. Yeah. We had Ukrainian schools on Saturday.
And everything was done in Ukrainian?
That was all Ukrainian.
All history?
Read and write and whatever. The history Ukrainian of Ukraine, and then the history of like Taras Shevchenko, the poets, and there was about it. Religion too, because there was a religion class there. Because we did our first communion, and so there was in there too. There were 2 Ukrainian churches. One was Ukrainian Catholic, and the other one was Orthodox Church.
And you went to the Ukrainian Catholic Church?
Yeah, we went to the Catholic.
You learned to speak English there or here?
Some of it I learned there. 'Cause there was one class a week that was in English.
And that was part of regular school?
No, that was part of the Ukrainian.
That was part of the
That
Ukrainian?
was part of the Ukrainian. We had our own, they had their own setup.
So the Ukrainians were
'Cause-
teaching Ukrainian and English?
Right, because the lady that was the teacher, she came from England, so she knew English. So she taught us English.
Okay. So when you came to the States, you knew some English already?
A little bit.
But your parents didn't?
No. Well, later on, as the Ukrainian community developed, people helped each other build their houses. They had brought in, they're learning from the old country, their way of cooking their foods, the way of costume dressing. They did their traditions on the holidays, Christmas and Ukrainian holidays. The children were taught how to read and speak in Ukrainian. They would put on Mother's Day, on certain holidays, they would put on a show for all of us kids, and everybody would get together, put a dinner, have a nice dinner. We would sing songs and have celebrations. At the same time, the Venezuelan government too, we performed at festivals where all the nationalities were taking part in it, dancing and singing. So we participated in those. We lived there for 10 to almost 11 years.
And how did the immigration start to the United States?
My parents had relatives in the United States, and they were able to send them the papers that they needed to come here, and they had to wait until their visas came through, and then we were able to come here.
And so you were about 11 or 12 years old.
At my age, yeah, I was about 11 years old.
What's your favorite memory from Venezuela?
My favorite memory? I was a kid. I liked my chickens and my ducks, and I went to school. I did. We raised chickens. That
And
was
your
fun.
banana tree.
And my banana tree and my avocado tree, and it was a simple life, but people got along. If you didn't have something, somebody else would, would let you use theirs. When my dad was building a house, all the men got together and they helped him build the house, and they got it built. A nice tin roof, the nice shower with a barrel on the roof, on the top of the tin roof. Yes, that was a good way. That was what we had. It was simple, but it was a living. Looking back at it now, comparing to the way we live here is a big difference. Oh, it's an easier life, and we
Here.
just don't appreciate all the things we have. Yes, people do not appreciate even the simple thing of like having indoor water or electricity and all that. Although, we had electricity, we didn't have big stoves. You cooked. I'm sure that here, years ago, people cooked like that too. They only had one little furnace, like a camping. What do you call those camping
Like the
cookers?
stoves, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
little stove camping thing
Yeah.
like that. That's what you cook with one burner. So you cooked all day for one little meal.
You're leaving, so you're about 11, 12 years old when you left Caracas to the States. Were you more excited or more sad about leaving? Or nervous?
I think I was crying. I was crying though when I left, because it's like, you're going on a plane, you don't know what, you know where you're going, and you know who's gonna be there, but at the same time you're leaving, you're leaving people behind that and they had to sell, whatever they had, the house and the beds and furniture, whatever they had everything stayed behind. So the only thing you're leaving is with your suitcases
Mm-hmm.
and with your clothes.
Mm-hmm. If you got to choose between living here or in Venezuela,
Well, both places were it's like it's my life, and both places taught me how to live simply, how to appreciate people, appreciate what I have, and love, try to love everybody around me, and both places to me, it was in my life, and I enjoyed it at the time of my life. It was the thing to do,
mm-hmm.
and so that's how we lived. I mean, there's poverty, there was hunger, but at the same time, there was life, and you lived it the way you had to, because that's a tropic, and you had heat. There was water, there was electric. There were no winters except up in the mountains.
Do you remember how hot it got? Like
No.
one of the hottest days?
The hottest usually it's during the noon and the afternoon, because I remember coming from school, because you went to school in the morning from like 7 o'clock till noon,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other shift went in the afternoon, like from 1 to 4 or 5, something like that. So, because there were so many kids per school.
Mm-hmm. So you only had to go for half a day.
Yeah, so it's like, you would call it half a day here. Well, for us, that was a
A full day.
right? And then I remember coming home in the afternoon. It was always hot. Always hot.
If you would be able to go and visit Caracas, would you go?
Yeah, I wanted to go, but I never got a chance to. Yes, there's some people that are still there. You know, they have their relatives that live here, and they still have relatives there, and they go and they visit because they have some place to go. I would like to see what it looks like. Yeah, why not? Can't do it though. Wasn't able to do it before.
кличуть кру, 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 чужині умру. Заке море перелечу,
I think that's it.
You're not recording?
No.
Yes, she is, isn't she?